Well, hello there. Let's talk about cutting fret slots. I get to talk with a lot of you on a regular occasion, and I really like learning about your trials and tribulations and what you enjoy doing. It's great to hear all that excitement. I know a lot of you like building from scratch every piece of your guitar. I know a lot of you like to build your own necks. I know a lot of you like to make your own fretboards and cut your own fret slots and put in the frets and then finish off the frets. I know you get a lot of satisfaction out of that. Well, I think you also know, those of you who are doing that this is a pretty precise operation. The location of these frets is very critical. They have to be in a specific spot, and they have to be in a perfect relationship to the nut at the top and the other frets going down the fretboard. So a lot of us have seen online some of the fret calculators. You go in on a website, you enter the scale length, you enter the number of frets, you press a button, and then it will give you the exact locations of where those frets need to be, down to 3 decimal points, which is pretty precise. And we're probably not going to get that precise doing what we do with hand tools and stuff. But again, it's critical. We've got to get as close as possible, because if you're not close, you're not going to be able to get the right note when you want to play your instrument. It's going to sound off. So again, it's very critical that we get these fret locations in the right spots. So how do you do that? Well, I'm sure some of you have seen some of the fret templates that are out there. There are paper ones, there's plastic ones. There's a lot of different kinds of templates out there. We've come up with a new one that we think might help a little bit. We're pretty happy with it and what it can do for you. We have a metal one. It's made from sheet metal. You can see that it's been cut. We cut this on a big laser. A big 4,000 watt laser cuts this for us. And what it has is it has all of the locations for those fret slots on a 25.5-inch scale with 24 frets. So there's the template. Pretty straightforward if you want to just use it as a marking template, because what we've done is we've got these slots here, and you can put it on your fretboard material, and then we use a pencil and go up and down, and you can actually mark the locations and then come back and saw it. So that's one way you can do it. I know a lot of guys do that. We also have another way we're going to talk about in just a moment that we think might help that process out, make it a little bit easier and maybe a little bit more precise. But let's talk about fret locations, because it's pretty critical that we understand the relationship there. And there's a lot of science involved and a lot of math involved, and you can spend a day on the internet doing search, learning, listening to the way that's evolved, listening to the expertise, and it can get pretty involved, but it's pretty interesting. But the critical thing to keep in mind is this simple number here, 17.817. That is the number that is used to determine the location of each fret and each subsequent fret. It's real simple how that works. To determine from what I call 0, which is up here on the nut end, to determine from there to the first fret slot, what you simply do is you take the scale length, which is 25.5 inches, and you divide it by this number, and that will tell you exactly how far down you need to go to get your first fret slot. Then you repeat that process, but what you do is you take, again, the overall 25.5-inch scale minus the distance that you have for that first fret slot, divide the remaining distance again by this number, and that will tell you where you need to place the next fret. And that's how you work your way all the way down to the 24 frets that you're going to put in there, and it will get you the exact precise spacing and the exact precise location from one to the next that'll actually allow you to get the right notes when you strum your guitar. When you strum a string, it'll get you the right ones. One of the things that we've done on that, again, is that's a constant. So what we've actually done is we've made this kind of a multi-scale. It's not a big trick, but what you can do is you can actually just move your zero line down 1 fret, and now instead of 25.5-inch scale, what you have is a 24.1-inch scale neck and 23 slots. And then you can move it down again and move it down again and move it down again. What this allows you to do is if you want to make a smaller instrument and you want a shorter scale length, you can do it with the same template. Now, of course, I know a lot of you are going to ask, are you going to do something with 25-inch or Are you going to do something with 24 3/4? Are you going to do them for bass? Yeah, we'll probably eventually get to that, but what we find is 25.5 seems to be the most popular scale length, and so we're going to do that. I mentioned a moment ago these little slots that are down here on the bottom, and we think that's one added feature that you're really going to like, because we think that's really going to help the process. Those are actually indexing slots. So when you buy this template, you're actually going to get the template plus this really tiny 1/8 inch pin. And that is actually an indexing pin that will allow you to index from one slot location to the next slot location. Let me show you how that's going to work. What I did was I actually built a little miter box for cutting my fret slots. And you can kind of see, I'll give you some, it's just a basic slot box, not much to it. I started off in the bottom, 24 by 24. I have on the sides, I have a 16 by 2.5. I made this out of 3/4 inch plywood. Then down here I have 8 by 2.5 inch. So these are the sides. What you'll notice is I've kind of created a little slot here. That's really critical. It has to be absolutely perpendicular. So what I did was I mounted one side first, and then I used my square to mount the other one so that I know they are square. Then what I actually did was I actually used my saw blade to position and locate the other ones to get them up nice and snug. So you can see I got a pretty good fit there. So what we have here is a miter box. But the one little thing that's really kind of cool about this is if you look down inside there, and you probably can't see it because I can't get close enough to the camera, but you'll see that little pin down there. It's about 1/4 inch to the right of the slot, and it's about 1/4 inch inwards. And what that allows us to do is that allows us to index the fretboard. So I've mounted a fretboard using some double-sided tape, and I've put it in here, and I have the pin going into the first slot, and now I have the location to cut the first one. When I want to go to the next one, I simply pull it out, slide it down, and I'm now to the next location. Do it again, and just work your way down, actually all the way down by, again, indexing it to the next slot, and you'll actually be able to cut them precise. What I use is I have this Cobalt, and you'll recognize that as the Lowe's brand. This is a saw they have. It's an extra fine blade. It seems to be about the right dimension. I know a lot of guys out there have used it with a lot of success. It seems to be about the right thickness of blade. The kerf on it's about the right thickness for cutting fret slots. And simply just put it in here. Oh, one thing I forgot to tell you. You'll notice on my saw it's been modified. What I did was I made it into kind of a back saw. So again, I've gone with about 2.5 inches on the height on a 3/4 inch base. And what I do is then took a piece of 1/8 inch stock, laid it in here, and then I actually set the saw in. The reason for doing that is most of the fretboards that I cut are 1/4 inch. And most of the time I want the slots to be about 1/8 inch. So what I actually do is just use a piece of 1/8 inch stock, and I set the saw in there. And then I came back and I actually used super glue, and I glued this piece of wood stock right to the top of the rails and against the saw blade. So what that does is that kind of creates a stop. So when I'm getting ready to saw a slot, go down to the next location, and I'm ready to go. One of the things you'll notice also on here that's really critical, you'll notice that I put 2 legs on there, or 2 arms on there. And what that allows me to do is that allows me to secure it. That allows me to secure it to my workbench, because when you're sawing these will jump around a little bit. So once you have that secure, it's as simple as putting the saw down in the slots. And now I've got a nice slot that's about 1/8 of an inch deep, which is just about right for what I'm trying to do. So again, what we've got is this miter box. We've used double-sided tape. You can see, I'll show you how I do that. I just put the double-sided tape on in about 3 locations. And again, what's really critical is that we have to get those slots perpendicular to the fretboard. And the way to do that is to make sure that we're parallel to the sides, because we know that the slot this way is perpendicular to this. So if we can keep the neck or the fretboard perpendicular, we're going to be in good shape. So what I've done here is, again, I put double-sided tape in 3 locations. And then I make sure to line it up. If you put, again, the slots down, and you'll see the previous top slots that you used for marking, and I just line it up to the end of those. And now I have this fretboard perfectly, or as close as I can get, perfectly parallel to my template. When I put it into the miter box, it will be parallel to the miter box, and then with my perpendicular slot here, I should be able to cut a perfect slot. So anyway, that's what we got. They're going to be available shortly, probably have them up in a day or so. Again, what you get is you get the template, and you get the little pin, and you can watch the video and see how to do this. So again, hope you like the video, hope it's helpful, hope you like this tool. I think you'll find that it may help your productivity so you can get guitars and necks and fretboards produced a little bit faster. So again, thanks.